I was thinking about Summer's case. Well, I'm parked out behind my doctor's office and I'm just looking at the view. I'm not going to go too far back here, but I just wanted to kind of share the thoughts that I had. We know that the area that she lives in is a decent sized property. There are some wooded areas around it. The terrain, they've mentioned that the terrain is can be difficult. I recall when they were originally searching and they were saying they didn't want like citizen volunteers because they didn't want anyone to put themselves in danger, and basically they would end up having to either look for or provide some type of emergency assistance to a civilian who had injured themselves in the terrain because the terrain is so dangerous. And I'm looking at this area behind here. You can see it's kind of, and I'm hoping the lighting is good enough. You can see it's a pretty decent sized field. And I'm going to try to zoom in here in a minute. Okay, so you see it's a pretty decent sized field. It has a tree line. That tree line looks pretty thick, like in this area here. Now, once I get over this way, you can kind of see through it. I don't know if you can see it, but I can see the roof line to a house or some type of building on the other side there. Now, I'm looking at this grassy area, and I don't know if you can see that as well as I can, but it's different textures. If you look here where this tree is, right, you'll see that along around the base of the tree, it looks like they've maybe mowed this field, but there's an area around the tree that's not mowed. Now, having lived in the country and having had to help mow some fields like this, that's probably a bunch of thick, knotted up brambles, roots, tree stumps, stuff that you can't get a lawnmower through without destroying your mower, even if it's one of the good riding lawnmowers. Now, if you look at the grass, you'll see like a bunch of different colors. I'm looking at a darker patch here in front of me that looks pretty thick and it looks pretty tall as far as the vegetation. Now, there are some other areas that I'm looking at that look pretty thin, almost as if I walk to it, I could probably see the dirt up under it. And I also see some areas that look like there might be water under it. Of course, I'm not in Tennessee. Where I'm at is kind of swampy. But there also might be water up under there. The ground might be soft and mushy. I might even sink in it if I were to walk across it. Which is another reason I'm not going to walk out there into this field. But I can imagine, looking at how thick, how dense these woods are, that it would not be hard for a child to get lost or hurt in there. And we know that they recently did a renewed search in the Ben Hill Road area, and they were saying they had to wait like for the vegetation and stuff to die down, make it easier to search the terrain. Now this is December, and you can see that it is still really thick in there. I literally cannot see through this. I can't see past the trees for the trees. But can you imagine in the summertime when everything is green and lush and growing and the underbrush is thick, you've got bushes and shrubs in there, briar patches in there, all kind of stuff just growing and tangling up in there. Then if you look over here, you'll see like that's kind of like a tall grassy area. It looks like some kind of tall, if you're familiar with the beach, it reminds me of dune grass. Tall and thick. So it's just a thought. I was thinking about it because people are like really going against the idea or the notion that she could have wandered away and gotten lost, or that searchers wouldn't have been able to find her. um, I hear a lot of, they had the dogs out there. There were so many people out there, they would have found her, they would have come across something, there's no way they could have missed her. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, we even saw in the Brian Laundrie case where the dogs were close enough that you would think they would have been able to get a scent, a whiff of something on the breeze, or that some of the helicopters overhead should have caught a glimpse of something in the area where he was eventually found, because we even saw where one helicopter actually caught that area on camera and we didn't see anything out of place. And at the time when it caught that footage, he should have been there. It wasn't covered in water. So if Summer did wander away, and Lawson has said several times lately that there's a very good likelihood that she wandered away. The early reports say that Summer was last seen walking. I cannot remember off the top of my head if it said she was seen walking on the road or walking away from the house specifically, but something along those lines. The original reports gave the idea that Summer was seen walking away from home, walking down the road or something like that. Maybe she wandered away. I mean, they found her footprints. The dogs alerted on footprints in 2 separate areas away from her home. This terrain here that I'm looking at, if I were to walk across that, a good tracker might be able to catch my footprint in some places. My trail might kind of disappear in other places and pick up somewhere else, just because of the different textures and densities of the grass, the different makeup of the ground. Because right out there, knowing what I know about this area, there's probably some really mushy stuff that might hold a print, and then a few feet away there might be something that's really dry and not hold a print. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling, but I'm kind of not, because I'm just trying to put some things on people's minds. Like, maybe we need to refocus. Maybe we need to give some more serious consideration to other options. It seems like everybody's so hyper-focused on the parents being guilty, and honestly, I do believe that Candace has some knowledge. There's like no way that she can't. I mean, there is a way, but it's a very slim chance. Um, I just think we kind of need to refocus. Maybe take a walk somewhere and look at some wooded terrain around your area. Get a better idea of it. You know, watch some of Michelle After Dark or Michelle Walks, and the terrain that she walks in. She's constantly walking through wooded areas, kind of swampy areas, wetlands, and you can see how suddenly and how drastically the terrain will change. The ground will go from being walkable to she's sinking. Thick underbrush and then nothing, just wide open space. I just think we need to start kind of opening our mind to other possibilities, other realistic possibilities. I know it's easy to get caught up on some of the stuff that's going around because it's scandalous and hilarious, and it's like some of the things that are said almost can't go without someone commenting on it just because it's so ridiculous. But we should still kind of bring it in, you know, put our feet back on the ground and give as much consideration to logical possibilities as we do to ludicrous theories. Again, different terrains, different uh, textures in the ground, different thicknesses in that wood line. All right, folks, I'm out of here. Okay, so when I looked out the window, I noticed that that grassy area over there that I showed you, that said it's, and I said it looks like it reminds me of beach grass. Here is some of that same kind of grass a little closer up, and it's not as tall as that grass over there, but this is the same kind, and you see how thick it is, and it has some areas that are growing like taller. Now over there, it's much taller and much more dense. Going back to the recent renewed search, they said they had to wait for some of the brush to kind of dry up and die down so that they could access those areas more easily. And I hate to even be the one to kind of put this gruesome thought out there, but realistically, what if Summer did wander off, right? And she got hurt in some thick brush in one of the areas that they couldn't get to search. Because kids can get places, we know kids get places that adults wouldn't be able to figure out how to get into. And we look and we're like, how in the heck did that kid get in there? How did you do that? Kids can get in some stuff. So, what if she wandered into an area that they couldn't really access because of all the underbrush or whatever, and she got hurt and eventually passed, or maybe an animal, a predator, found her, and that's why they couldn't find her even after the underbrush was more accessible.